Stream is live.
Doing it live. Do it live. Do you recognize that?
Wrestling, maybe?
No, it's apparently it's the most viewed video ever on YouTube. It's this old video, or it's an audio clip. I guess it's used on. It's Bill O'Reilly, just yelling at his crew or something. We'll do it live. We'll do it live.
Oh,
It's
really?
just,
that's more than messing with the dog.
It was used by. It was used by the media to try and show, like, behind the scenes, he's an ogre, he's a terrible person, etc. Yet it's out of context because it was like long before he was working at Fox or anything. It was some old thing they dug out where they were having technical issues, and he's like, "Forget it, do it live. We'll do it live."
Imagine someone in the media having an ego problem.
Yeah,
knock me over with a feather, Mike.
All right. Yeah, Carrie. I want to go in all different directions, but I want to also turn it over to you because I really enjoy this time with you. I even asked.
It's been a while.
It has been a while. I asked Gina, when was my next time with Joel? And all right, I just noticed there is I'm changing the I don't know if you saw that. I changed our little logo. It still said Bible every morning up there. I changed it to this way. All right. Joel, hello. People are already jumping in here saying hi.
I see Eureka and Jacqueline and Ace here. So
hello everybody. Hello everybody. All right. Joel, what's our topic today? There's so much going on in the news and I'm so busy. Maybe I'll let you inform me. What's going on?
Oh, I think we got a couple. I think we got Trump being sued for the horrible crime of, I don't know, getting
of paying all his debts,
valuing his property over what the media thinks it is.
Getting sued for making everyone whole and paying off his loans.
Yes, exactly, and making the banks happy, making the bank rich.
Right.
I was watching Tim Pool last night, and they were saying, okay, after all this time, you've been investigating Trump. This is what you got. That he said his property was worth more than you think it is. And the banker seems to have agreed because they gave him the loans. They always have an appraiser. The appraiser probably said, yeah, that's about it. This is Palm Beach waterfront property with a multi-million-dollar resort on it. It's worth a good amount of coin. And I can't seem to the life of me. I'm a real estate investor. If he's guilty of this, I'll see you later. I'll see you in about 10 to 20, Mike.
Right. If this is a crime, if what he's done is a crime, real estate investing is over as we know it.
As we know it. Yeah, for sure. I'll be pounding rocks, my bad back, making little ones out of big ones.
Yeah. So this is, of all the lawsuits, this is the one I hadn't really I didn't know what the details were necessarily until just like yesterday. I didn't listen to Tim Pool. I listened to, I think Steve Turley covered it a little bit. And
I'm sorry to interrupt, but the point that Tim Pool and his roundtable made was, okay, you're not going after Jeffrey Epstein's client list. You're not going after who suicided him. You didn't. There was no reasonable prosecutor would have dared bring charges against Hillary Clinton. And this is what you're going. So not to mention old Joe and his boy. Yeah, so that was their point, and that was. But go ahead with what you're going to say.
Well, just as far as the discrepancy in valuing the property, there's different metrics, I guess. There's like residential and commercial, right? And so if it's his home, it's valued one way. If it's a property that turns a profit that you can make money off it, it's valued a different way. And they were going with a lower number, like, and it's also, and this is the thing that Steve Turley pointed out, whatever a person values their property at, they could say whatever number they want. Technically, Charlie didn't say that, but they could technically say any number they want. The onus is on the person with the money giving the money, right? He's asking for a loan from the banks. The onus is on them. Is this really? They have to do due diligence.
Sure.
It's there. It's part of the process. They look and go, is this number accurate? And they do the homework, and they would not have given him the money if he was lying blatantly, if they weren't able to corroborate. So yeah. It's a dog and pony show, as they say.
Well, I tell you what,
All right.
my take on it, and I talk with William a lot about this when we do our show. The point is to get Trump personally. Okay. It's not what they want him out of politics.
No.
They want him out of life. They're punishing him. They're making an example of him. Anybody that goes against the deep state or the swamp, whatever you want to call it. He's the only one with enough backbone to really, really take on what's wrong in Washington. And I think the ridiculousness of the charge is kind of the point. They do this. It's kind of like with the 2020 business. We're going to make it blatant what we're doing to send a message. We're going to do this, and you can't do anything about it. I heard I haven't seen it, but I heard the judge was kind of smiley about the whole thing and kind of mugging for the camera. This is the point. This is what Marxists do. They're making a point with this. Is like, we're going to bring this ridiculous nothing charge, and we're going to make it happen because we have the power, and there's nothing you can do about it. And I think that's part of it.
I agree.
They might have even picked the most ridiculously. They might have had more, but then no, we're going to pick this one. We're going to make this one up just to show that we can do it, and that you have no power, and we're in control. And if you're not careful, we'll do it to you. That's what I think.
Lawfare, right? That it's like,
lawfare.
I forget who it was who said this, but at any given time, every one of us are violating no less than three federal laws, because the bloated bureaucracy is, there's so many laws that are on the books that nobody knows, nobody uses. Some of them are so obsolete and ridiculous. However, they haven't been rescinded or taken off the books. They're still there. And so at any given time, anybody who with the wherewithal and the intent can find something to charge all of us with to make us disappear forever. Right.
Well, yeah, that was Stalin's way. Show me the man, I'll show you a crime. There's one that we can use. I used to go around about it with some people at my old church, about this kind of thing coming down the pike, and they're like, "Well, I don't care. I don't do anything wrong." I'm like,
that's beside
you don't have to do anything wrong.
That is beside the point.
You can be perfect. They'll find something if they want. If they find out you go to this large evangelical church in Southern California, and if your cell phone data or your browsing history shows that you were at the wrong place or looking at the wrong thing.
You were in the same room. In other words, you attended the church, right? You were in the same room as this other guy who's related to or worked for somebody who's a Nazi, blah, 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 right? You were in the same room as somebody. You walked next to someone, right? It's the narrative that they create.
So you didn't do anything wrong, but boy, but they can nail you with a crime.
Association. No.
It doesn't matter.
What does the word Satan mean? Accuser. Right?
Accuser. Okay, there you go. That's right.
Right? The word Satan actually means accuser. Just accuse. It doesn't matter if it's true or not. That's what he's about. That's
we're back to the French Revolution, aren't we?
Don't say that. No. Well, I
think
that's
who these people are. Jacobins. They're
this
is what their worldview says to do. So
there was that comparison. People tend to falsely compare the American Revolution with the French Revolution.
Oh no!
And what we're experiencing is closer to the French Revolution, which is the progressive. The American Revolution wasn't really a revolution; it was a fight for independence. But it was, and this I didn't know either, that the colonies were subjects of the king, and the British Parliament had no authority over the colonies, yet the British Parliament was enacting or passing laws. Sure. And so it was like, wait a minute, they're breaking their own law by trying to enforce these things. So we were breaking away from a corrupt government system, right? It wasn't
Right.
really a revolution. It was, wait, you guys aren't even following your own rules. All right. We can go on this for a bit. Now, what's this McCarthy thing? What's going on with McCarthy?
Oh, well, you have been kind of asleep, haven't you?
I followed it yesterday a little bit. I heard about
Okay.
it. Yeah,
You've been in
but
your Hollywood
for those who
hideout
haven't,
doing stuff.
my Hollywood development hideout, yes.
Yes, undisclosed bunker somewhere. Well, I mean, McCarthy's out. Matt Gaetz successfully led the charge to get him and his dastardly ways, his backstabbing ways
First
out.
time ever,
First time ever.
right? First time ever. Well, similarly, it was the first time ever when he was confirmed. It was the first time ever that they'd had to do like 16 or 17 votes to finally get McCarthy confirmed as the speaker.
Right.
Right. So,
And that's back in
from the
January,
beginning of his speakership of this go round, it was unprecedented. Right. There are things happening. And so just my impression, I don't know the specifics. The impression is that Matt Gaetz, on principle, he's like, if you do this, I'm doing that. And McCarthy did it. And Matt Gaetz says, all right, I said I would, I'm going to. And he was successful. What were the details? So McCarthy, Matt Gaetz said, don't do this. And McCarthy did it. What is the thing that he did?
I think the trigger was really the what do they call them? Continuing resolutions, because they can't, they haven't passed a budget in what, 20 years or something.
Yeah, right.
So they keep doing these continuing revolutions, continuing resolutions to keep the government funded. And, basically it's down to, he didn't fight hard enough, and he's really not conservative enough. And your man, Steve Turley, was talking last night about how McCarthy and, what's his name? The double chin from the Senate.
McConnell.
McConnell.
The double chin. That's what got me. Yeah, I knew that.
Yeah.
Right away.
Sadly enough, yes. It is a pretty striking thing, isn't it?
But for the grace of God, there go I.
Exactly. I do chin exercises every day to keep my jawline. Anyways, so they actively campaign against pro-Trump, MAGA, whatever you call them, candidates, including Carrie Lake from your neck of the woods, right? Or your and so I think it's just a matter of saying enough. I mean, we went through all this stuff at the beginning of the year, and they did a very good job. And McCarthy, he said, "Okay, I'll do this and this and this," and he seemed to have gotten the message. But slowly, I think he's gone back at it and showed his swampish kind of rhino ways.
Yeah,
and it's funny because he was talking about. I was on radio. Officer Tatum was saying, and this guy locally, Carl DeMaio, we're both making the point. McCarthy, in his speech afterwards, he said, well, I'm proud of the way I reached across the aisle and worked with Democrats. And
that old trope.
Yeah. And he goes, who's the guy? Hakeem Jeffries. He goes, I treated Hakeem Jeffries the way I wanted to be treated, and I worked with them. And they made the point. Yes, and every single one of those Democrats, everybody's talking about how the Republicans turned on him, and all these 8 Republicans voted against him. Every single Democrat voted to oust him. So all these Democrats that he reached across the aisle
to those who hate
treated him so well, they turned their back. They voted him out too, and nobody's talking about that.
Yeah,
it's. Go ahead.
I have a couple questions. One is. So I think it's what Carrie mentioned in the comments. I'm thinking it was the extra money for Ukraine. Like, I think that's where Gaetz was drawing the line in the sand, and McCarthy pushed that across the aisle. It's like that money, all that money
was that in the continuing resolution?
I'm not sure.
I think it might have been.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's the money, the more money for Ukraine, which in modern time, in today's day, anybody who thinks that money is going to anything useful, like this is not. I'm going to sound conspiratorial, but until the accounts are done, where's that money going? Right? It goes and it gets handed off somewhere, and then it's completely out of the chain of custody, and it goes and belongs to somebody in charge of a totally corrupt nation, Ukraine. Right?
Yes.
It's like people listening to the United States of America argue about where we're sending money. There are people over there, they're going, my account just gets bigger and bigger and bigger every time they send money over here. It goes, I siphon this off the top, and then that person siphons that off the top, and this person siphons that off the top, and then there's some of it left that goes to something, and something may be useful. Anyway, so here's my other question on the McCarthy thing. So there's a sub. Somebody comes in and fills McCarthy's role. I forget the name of the person, but now they have
Patrick
to.
McHenry, which is another Mac put between a pretty good name.
Right. Yeah, Patrick Henry. So now the issue is, how do you find a guy that enough Republicans will rally behind? Because the Democrats are going to vote against anyone that's not a Democrat, right? The Democrats in the House will just, so it's finding somebody that, will we have another actual Speaker of the House in this Congress, or will they just continue with the sub? I don't know.
That I don't know. I've heard Jim Jordan's name, but apparently he doesn't want it. I think he'd be probably the one most people could agree upon. But I don't know. I don't know what they do now. I do know that you can't operate without a speaker. Again, according to your man Turley, the name that most people are throwing up that people want, because you don't have to be a member of the House to be Speaker of the House.
That's right.
Who is it, Mike? I'll give you 3 guesses, and the first 2 don't count.
Dude, it would be so incredible if Donald Trump becomes Speaker.
Donald Trump. And he goes, "Can you imagine Donald Trump with subpoena power?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, that would be awesome. But then that gets back to what I was saying. And you have to get enough Republicans. The Republicans the Republicans would have to be unanimous, pretty much. Like, they only have a few vote margin, and so it would be virtually.
You're not going to get rhinos. You're not going to get people. And our local guy was making the point yesterday, because he was saying, before McCarthy said he wasn't going to run again, because he could have run again. He could have put his name in the hat.
Yep.
He said he could. He obviously can't get any of the 8 Freedom Caucus people, or whoever they are. He said he could go to Democrats and say, "Hey, I'll make a deal with you if you give me." But if he did that, he'd lose a lot of the Republicans that voted for him. So that wouldn't work either.
The beauty of our system.
Yeah. No, it works.
Yeah.
It works. Yeah. So and then they can't. He was saying they couldn't go back to because there's a lot of Republican representatives that live in districts where Biden won, supposedly. Biden won. So they can't go back
to their constituents. Yeah.
They have, if Trump was nominated, they couldn't vote for him. There's just no way I could vote for Donald Trump and then go back to my heavily Democratic district and say, "Yeah, I voted for Donald Trump as Speaker of the House." So I don't know. It would be good theater. It'd be, like I said, it'd be what the Republic needs. But
well, it's already good theater. It's a pretty exciting theater. Another thing that stands out to me that happened this week that we were kind of anticipating, but something like this. But when RFK, he hasn't made the official announcement, but I guess it's leaked out. He is leaving the Democrat Party and going to run as an independent. And to me, I'm like, that's the nail in the coffin, even of like cheating, right? The rigging or whatever happened in the last 2 elections, the midterms and the 2020. There's always some fraud, right? There's always some people voting. If one person votes twice in an election, that's called fraud, right? So
leave Chicago out of it. Come on now.
Leave Chicago, the epicenter. Right. But when you have someone like him with the name recognition and being, liked by a lot of progressive and leftists. And sure, there are right-leaning people who like him. And, the arguments that people are trying to make is like, well, that would hurt Trump as much as it would hurt Biden. I'm like, I don't see that at all. With a full, like, 2/3 or something of Democrats wanting a different candidate for president other than the incumbent, I think Kennedy running independent is going to siphon a bunch of those off. And I really feel like the margins
good point.
are widening, but like Trump has never been pulled ahead. Trump has never been pulled in the lead. And now he's polling in the lead regularly, and in some cases by almost double digits. And with Kennedy going independent and siphoning more off, I believe, from Biden than Trump, that gap, Trump's lead. And so it gets to a point where any organized cheating or fraud, the gap is increasing such that, typically it's like within 2 to 3% that fraud affects. But when it gets out of that margin, it's like, it seems every day we're getting closer and closer to an actual Trump presidency again.
Okay, Jacqueline just threw something in the mix here. The plan might be to eliminate every candidate and put Michelle in the race. Now, what happens if Mrs. Obama steps in?
I think it's all false hype. I think
if they're desperate enough.
No, if they do it, here's what I'm saying. If it happens, I think they are overconfident. I think there's a pocket of Democrats who will be absolutely thrilled and locked in, but the Democrat Party is so fractured that will push other people away, right? There's all these different, so I don't think they have a candidate that can beat Trump. I don't. Michelle Obama was Gavin Newsom. There's too much. He has too much of a record, and he's not a black woman, right? It's crazy how they back themselves into a corner, right? No, it's like, let's get another white guy to run. Let's get another white guy to run when they say, right, white guys are evil, right?
Yeah. So I don't know. Yeah, that's a good point.
Robin,
I think if they're desperate enough, if they think there's no way it could win, I think that's their last Hail Mary pass. But I don't know that she would do it. I just don't. I don't think she's ever been really that politically ambitious. Not like Hillary Clinton.
When I saw this, Robin, at first I'm like, no, I am not. I am not running for president. But she's referring to Michelle, Michael.
Oh,
the theories about
the French
Michelle. Is she really a Michelle? That's funny.
I don't know. You could run. I'll write in your name, Mike. I'll write in Gavlat. I'll try to spell it right too.
It's funny because it's like, if I ever got to a place where I was influential enough to be actually considered as a presidential candidate, I'm like, boy, the world would have to be such a different place for me to consider that. But if it were God's will, I would, all right, fine. But you know what? You want to get an update, Joel? Want to get an update?
I do. I was hoping I'd get a project update.
All right. So where did we leave off? Where was the last time you and I talked?
Oh, it's been like over a month. There was a scheduling mishap, so it's been over a month.
Probably last thing I was telling you about is I created this lookbook. It's a 144-page lookbook that is essentially, lookbook being a Hollywood device, a tool, a mechanism for pitching, right? When you pitch, it's called a pitch deck or a lookbook. They kind of
pitch deck is what I know it as. Yeah.
Right. So pitch deck is the more common term, but lookbook specifically this is how my project is going to look. If we get your money, because this is designed for investors and collaborators, if we get you on board, this is what we're making. Here's the story, the idea, the feel, the mood, the potential actors or actresses, etc. It just kind of gives a vision of what you want to do. And since I'm doing a series, 4 seasons is the ultimate full project, but if you have a series, you're going to pitch season 1. So this lookbook is the pitch for season 1, 144 pages. And I made 2 copies because it's expensive to go to Kinko's and get one of these made. The hundreds of dollars to get one of these things made, high quality.
Yeah.
But I got I got 2 of them made and gave one of them to Howard Kazanjian. I don't know if I mentioned that to you last time. Do you know
Oh
who
yeah,
Howard
that's
Kazanjian?
Steven's
Yes,
buddy. Yeah.
yeah. George Lucas, Steven Spielberg, Francis Ford Coppola, they're all in the same circle. So got that to him. His response was perfect. He wants more. So he's on the hook, right? That guy is in, like, a super influential producer. Then the other person I sent it to was Doug Wilson. I don't know if I mentioned this to you.
Oh
And
yeah, no, we
so,
talked about Doug Wilson last time. The
all right.
YouTuber,
So I got that to
columnist.
him. Yeah, the pastor in Moscow, Idaho.
Right.
Sorry, I was rotoing. The internet is
Yeah,
stalling. You can
I'm
hear me
obviously
fine, right?
delayed coming to you a little bit. Yeah.
Okay. So got one to him, and super busy guy, but the response was he connected me immediately to 2 people. One is somebody affiliated with New St. Andrews College or University. So Doug founded a college, I don't know, a couple decades ago. It's a classical education, it's kind of place where you want your really smart, godly kids to go. But it's in Moscow, Idaho, and a lot of snow. But so he connected me to the head of the underclassmen. So the idea is they may have me come there and speak to the student body talking about this historic event. Because Doug
Wow.
Wilson, when I talked to him, he understood immediately. His sister was a missionary in Istanbul, and she married an Armenian. So Doug's
Wow.
brother-in-law is Armenian. So it was all shorthand. Doug understood exactly what he was talking about. He used the phrase, "This will start a fire in the hayloft." Exactly. It's like, yes, that's what we want. We want to start a fire in the hayloft so
Sure.
people
Yeah.
can gather
Exactly.
around and watch the barn burn. This is a barn burner for sure.
Yeah.
And so, as of this, I'll tell you another connection. But as of this week, I've been connected from that person, connected me to the head of the Masters in Fine Arts, right, at the university. So this is the person I need to talk to, because this is the person that I would get an in with to become an adjunct professor there to teach this. It's like, so that connection has been made. Here's the other connection Doug made. So as I was talking in my last meeting, this was September 18th with Doug Wilson, the follow-up, he's read the thing. It's duly impressive. And he's like, investors in something like this would have to understand that they would be going toe to toe with Turkey, like
Yeah.
a government, like an actual
Yes.
nation, right? An investor who all investors want to know is, what's the risk? What's the risk of my money? And that's the risk, like the number one risk. So Doug, being savvy, aware of that, he goes, I know a guy. He goes, I know a guy who's the head of a hedge fund, and he might have some people in that category that would have no problem. I mean, he didn't say all of this. He said, but in my mind, it's like it might even be an incentive. It might not even be a draw. Like some people want, and so sure enough, Doug connects me with a hedge fund. The hedge fund guy said, send me a pitch summary. So I was like, I better get a good pitch summary together. So I put a 5-page pitch summary together, and over the following week, it got it to them last week, and I got a notice of receipt. We got it. Thank you, Michael. So
All right.
there's
That's a
people
lot of
with
progress from last time we
there's
spoke, my
people
man.
with money. Yeah. So that's the thing you're always working toward in development, in Hollywood. In development, you develop. The whole point is to get it before money. And I just crossed that threshold like last week.
Okay.
And so pray.
I will.
It looks,
Been a long road.
it has been. And a final note here is this, on the spiritualizing aspect of it, is, in Hebrew law, you plow the land for 6 years, and the 7th year is the year of Jubilee, a year of rest. And even for slaves, you keep your slaves for 6 years, and then you set them free in the 7th year, the laborers for 6 years. As of the end of September, that was the completion of 6 years of development on this project. So this October, this month, is the beginning of year 7.
Wow. Yeah. I guess it's been 5 years since we had breakfast
Yeah, yeah.
and talked about it. Yeah,
And with that, we're out of time.
we are.
Oh,
Okay. Thanks for the
good to see you,
update.
Joel. You're welcome
Good
for the
to see you.
update. I knew you would want that, so saving it for the end. Love you all. We will see
Thanks,
you next
everyone.
time. See you next month or so, Joel. Love you,
Let's make
brother.
it on time next time. Bye now.